cranial follicle.
I personally know somebody who, she's not poly, but when she was 17, she managed managed a convenience store at 17. Unlocked it, restocked it, did the accounting, did all of the things, answered the phone, hand over the money to people who were there to rob the place at 17.
Yeah, same thing with Jay. Jay she was raising kids at like 8.
Yeah.
Because she was mom at 8 years old.
Right.
Not because she had kids at 8 years old, but the fact that she was now mom to her brothers and sisters.
Right.
And so this was her job at 8 to take care of the kids.
Right.
Full time. Jay, growing up, she had a higher maturity level when she hit 18, 20, 25, 30. She just was mom from 8 years old.
Even to my friends.
Yeah.
They call me mom.
They called Mom Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mom Jay. Mom Jay.
And it's funny because Selkie is actually she's the mom friend too.
Yep. Selkie is the mom friend too.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because, it's not that you want to rob people of their childhood, but to have that emotional maturity and have that kind of stable ability to handle stuff.
Right. Well, she was kind of forced into that situation, so it wasn't really a choice.
In Jay's case, yes, that it's an uncomfortable thing, but look at the results.
Yeah. An amazing person.
Right.
Right. She is.
When we look for partners, that's one of the things that we look for is somebody who's willing to go the distance. That not the ride or die philosophy. I don't really believe in that, but the kind of person who's like, they can take the hard hits and they can roll with it as long as there's something worth rolling for.
Right. If you're gonna be in a relationship, you're gonna have to be able to take the, like I said, hard hits and come out on the other side okay. Yeah, you're going to be scarred. Yeah, things that we talked about this earlier before of in one of the previous episodes of being able to take and maturely communicate with each other to know that you're going to come out okay on the other side. Jay and I have been through a lot of things, a lot.
Oh yeah,
but at the same time, our love for each other and maturity levels matched to where we came out on the other side. Willing to work things out, willing to talk about how we want things to be better.
Well, I guess that goes into saying, too, speaking of talking about the age gap, you have to be even more open-minded and willing to think about things in a way, because let's say you are 70 and you are dating a 25-year-old, okay? So your 25-year-old is going through a lot of different things than you did when you were 25, if you're a 70-year-old, first off.
I didn't even think about that.
And you being the 25-year-old have to think about your 70-year-old going through things that you could not even imagine. Body aches, pains, whatever, anything. Having to organize and save for their funeral arrangements, for their wills, all of these things. So they are coming to terms with the end of their life. And you're just starting to live yours. You're also going to have to start coming to terms with the end of their life. As the 70-year-old, you're going to have to come to terms with this person is also still going to go on living their life. So there's a lot of different things that happen in between those age gaps that you have to be considerate of and willing to embrace and accept and expand your mind around, because you're both experiencing, no matter however young you may be at heart, however old you may be at heart. The fact of the matter is we're limited to what our bodies can do and the time we have here on this earth. And the wear and tear that we put on our bodies and different things like that. So, if somebody was not kind to themselves and their life expectancy may not be as high as the other person's, and just so many different things. Somebody may have an illness that is going to take their life too soon, or somebody, you never really know these things, but when you put that age gap in there, it really brings it to the forefront.
Right.
And it is something that has to be considered if you're looking into having a long-term relationship, because that's their reality. Your 25-year-old is wanting to travel, see the world, get out, party, dance, sing. I don't know, if you're 70, 75, your hip might be bad. Your knees might be bad. You may be in perfectly great health.
For a 70-year-old.
Yeah, you're lucky to make it out to the driveway.
But those are things that have to be looked at and compensated for and discussed and talked about and thought about on everybody's part.
Yeah, I mean, another thing is talking about similar things about being raised. It brings up something. It's a much lighter area because me sarcastic and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. For example, when I talk about bands and stuff like that, music's huge in my life. Right. So I was raised on 80s hair bands, right, and late 70s type of stuff. Because that was all still being played in the 80s. Scarlett's talking about 90s boy bands. So. Yeah.
A little bit of a thing there.
A little bit of a thing. Yeah. So it's stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of an extreme type of thing. Yeah.
But not really, though. That 25-year-old, their musical taste is not going to span the generations that the 70-year-old is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that's another thing you have to be willing to open your mind to. Mm-hmm. Because they're going to be super nostalgic about the Beatles or whatever.
Bob Dylan or any of those things. And your 20-year-old girlfriend is now talking about how awesome Bieber was. There's a huge difference. One has talent, the other one's Bieber. So
personal judgments aside,
I have said many times I will not judge you unless it's based on music.
But like Jay was saying, you really do have to consider that if you're on the older end of the scale, you can spend the rest of your life with this new partner, and the younger person has to consider that they probably will not be spending the rest of their life with you.
That's morbidly true, but true nonetheless.
That's a reality that needs to be really thought about and looked at. And I'm not saying that is always the case. That's quite a bit of an age gap there.
But it's out there, I'm sure.
Yeah. There's plenty of people like that.
Yeah. And when we think about growing old with somebody, a lot of times we think of kind of at the same time. It's just kind of one of those social norms that come in, just like monogamy is kind of the default answer for most people's minds in this day and age in this country.
I don't know. I think single is more the norm lately.
It's getting that way, yes. A lot of changes are happening as a society, and it's kind of an exciting time to live because we get to watch this all happen. Mm-hmm. But that's just it. If you're thinking about growing old together, you don't expect to be 50 when the other person is 80.
Yeah.
Because you're not old yet at 50. And although somebody who's in a poly relationship at 18 to 20 might consider 50 old.
Right.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that you just have to be ready for that kind of uneven landing to the whole thing of, okay, they're going into a new stage of life. What happens when they go into assisted living?
Ooh.
When they can't take care of themselves anymore? Are you going to do it? Because you can. And there can be relationships where your partner becomes your CNA. But it is asking a lot. Love can do.
You also got to think, it's like, hey, look, they're going to put you in a home.
Yeah. Is it when it's time?
Is that what you want? Yeah. Do you want somebody who's going to do that, or do you want somebody who's going to stick with you? Those are all questions you have to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and neither one of them is a easy thing.
And
to
all
think
of it,
about.
all of it depends on the individual people involved.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no rule that say, well, if they're only this much older than me, then yes. Then if they're this much older, then no.
Well, even if somebody gets ill and they have to, you could be 25 and the person could be 26,
right? And
that person need to or go into a coma mm-hmm. or have to be put in assisted living or something. And is your 1 year younger partner going to stay with you or abandon you mm-hmm. or leave? What do you want? What do they want? Those are all things that people don't think about, really.
To be blunt, you could end up going into an assisted living situation or just a flat out hospice, and your partner is with your other partner, your meta perhaps or whatever, and they have this partner to raise. So they can't put as much attention on you as a typical partner would have.
That's kind of what happened in that movie,
Professor Marston and
Yep.
the Wonder Woman.
That's what happened in the movie, Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman. I'm not going to ruin it for everybody. By the way, if you're poly, you really should watch it. It's just an amazing movie.
It's
Even
really
if you're
good.
not poly, this is an amazing movie. Love the movie. But yeah, watch that one. It's kind of a similar situation as to what happens after the fact. But talking about that, I was kind of, right after high school, when I was working for the TV station, somebody came in to have us edit video. And you're talking about, assisted living and stuff, like, are you going to be there? And they had this woman that came in. Her husband was in an offshore accident. He was in a persistent vegetative state. And I had to edit footage at 19 years old of this guy's life and possible death. And this was like a huge wake-up call at 19, seeing this woman who was like 2 years younger than him take care of his he was hospitalized because he couldn't, but his wife was there by his side every single day, taking care of him. He had just had a kid, and the kid was there with trying to edit that video without crying was painful. That, again, this goes back to experiences. Like, that job matured me in different levels of not great ways, but in some sense, great ways. That's not a whole lot. Like, I had to experience a whole lot of stuff in a very short period of time to do that job.
Yeah.
Seeing stuff like that, and thinking about relationships. 19 at the time, and Jay and I were together. Would I have been in the one to stay by her side if something happened? Would she have been mine to stay by my side, even though we're not even a year apart?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing that goes back to you can't just judge number of years as maturity level, because you had that experience when you were 19. Now, at 43, I look at 19 and I think that's a child.
Oh, same here. Yeah,
legally they're an adult, but and we even celebrate that before 19. But looking at it, it's kind of like, wow, you haven't had enough life yet.
Life hasn't kicked you in the teeth enough.
Right, but in your case, in Jay's case, it kind of did.
Yeah.
So you can't just judge off of the years.
Yeah.
There's other ways you can judge. You can totally judge all kinds of
Yeah. Music.
Yeah, music,
music.
Absolutely.
So basically, just do you, be safe about it.
Illegal.
And come on, guys, we shouldn't have to say that. I know we don't, because all of our listeners are awesome. Do you think about the things, communicate, just love.
Listen to decent music.
Drink good coffee.
Oh,
or
yeah.
tea, or whatever your drink of choice is.
Coffee.
Not everybody likes coffee.
That's fine if they don't like coffee. They're just wrong. It's okay. It's okay.
Anyway, just love, and, sometimes our hearts are crazy places. And sometimes our hearts have minds of their own, and our life paths in this life defy the societal norms. And unless it's illegal, don't let other people's opinions and views and skewed, messed up, limited, conditional ideas of love confuse where you think your heart should go.
And I have to say this, Jay is wearing the perfect shirt. She has a rainbow flag on it. And it says, love wins. And that's it.
Yep.
I think that's a good way to end this episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
thanks everyone for listening and for joining us on this episode with the age gap. We'd love to hear from our listeners. If you have a relationship where you have a significant age gap, shoot us a message or post a comment or anything like that. And we will leave the information and a couple of pictures on our social media pages for the coffee that we reviewed at the beginning of the episode. Zan, tell us where they can find us.
Are you going to let me get through this one without interruption this time?
I
Maybe.
don't know.
Probably
Maybe.
not.
No. It doesn't look good.
Yeah, it probably. Yeah.
Let me consult the Magic 8 Ball.
We don't have an 8 ball. And here lies where we... What was that maturity level thing?
She matches ours.
Yeah, true.
She's actually edging us up a little
Right,
ahead.
yeah, I think so. I think she's kind of a tier above us when it comes to maturity
A
level.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I had to make Zan call his doctor today. 'cause
I
he keeps
was
forgetting.
calling, but you kept calling me and I couldn't...
Oh my God. I was gonna do it.
I was actually sitting.
Wow, I hear that from our teenagers.
Love you too.
Yeah, I love you.
Anyway, you can find us